Good day, Deep and Word family. Welcome to day 120 of our Bible study review. Today we are going through chapters 15 through 18 of Isaiah. Chapters 15 and 16 are prophecies against Moab, but this is for the children of Judah, the southern kingdom, to hear concerning Moab, concerning these judgments that will be placed on the other nations. Now remember, the Moabites, they're distant family, distant relatives of the children of Israel. Remember, Abraham, he had a nephew named Lot. Lot, when he escaped from Sodom and Gomorrah, he escaped with his wife and his two daughters, but his wife looked back and she was destroyed. Well, his two daughters, after they had fled, right, and they hid with him in a cave, they wanted to make sure that his family line, his name would continue. So his daughters slept with him, and the eldest daughter slept with Lot, and then her son was named Moab. This is where the people, Moabites, come from. And so this is distant family, so to speak. Ruth was a Moabite, but Ruth was grafted into Israel, all right? Ruth was married to Boaz, and Boaz and Ruth are the great-grandparents of David. So it's a picture of, the nations that would bow their knee to the one true God have an opportunity to be grafted in. But right now we see that there is this prophecy, this judgment that is going to go against Moab because of the proudness of their heart. It says that Ar and Ker will be destroyed in one night. And so the inhabitants of Moab, they will be fleeing to their high places of worship. And it says that they will flee to Zoar, which is the same place where Lot, his wife, and his children, right, were going to as they were fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah. So you see this story of the Moabites kind of coming back to their place of safety. In verse 5, we see that the prophet Isaiah is actually weeping for the fugitives of Moab, right? Their fortified cities have been burnt down. Now they're trying to go and hide out to their high places of worship, but everything is being destroyed before their eyes. So he actually has compassion on them. Then we open up chapter 16, and I'm just going to read from verse 1. It says, "Send the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah by the way of the wilderness to the mount of the daughter of Zion." So Selah, when I looked at where Selah is, it's in the land of Edom. So it seems like the Moabites are fleeing to the land of Edom when they should have fled to Zion, the southern territory of Judah. But then if you go down a little bit past verse 4, you will see that there's this glimpse in this prophecy about the future time. So let's read. It says, "For the extortioner has come to an end. The destroyer ceases. The oppressors are consumed out of the land. In mercy the throne shall be established, and one who judges and seeks justice and is diligent in righteousness shall sit on it in truth in the tabernacle of David." So then there's this future prophecy of the millennial reign of our Messiah. He's going to be seated on the throne of David. This is what he will be doing. So it's also, telling of this future time while it's telling of this judgment against Moab. Moab is a nation that has been puffed up in pride because of their abundance of crops. And he's essentially saying every nation that puffs itself up will be brought low, will be humbled. And so let's read the very end of chapter 16 and verse 14. It says, "But now Yahuwah has spoken, saying, within 3 years, as the years of a hireling, the glory of Moab shall be brought into contempt with all of his great population, and his remnant shall be very small and feeble." Chapter 17 is an oracle against Damascus. Now, Damascus is Syria, all right, or Aram, or the Arameans. So we see right here, it says, "See, Damascus will cease from being a city." And if we skip down to verse 3, this is what it says. "The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the king from Damascus." Now, we know that Damascus is Syria, or the Arameans, right? Aram. Well, remember, Ephraim and the Syrians made a political alliance, and Ephraim, brother of Judah, was coming down to taunt Judah with Syria, or the Arameans. Let's keep reading. It says, "And the remnant of Aram, or Aram, they shall be as the glory of the sons of Israel, says Yahuwah Sabaoth." This sounds like it's a good thing, but it's not. Let's keep reading. It says, "In that day the glory of Jacob shall decrease, and the fatness of his flesh shall grow lean." And this is because we know eventually Israel is taken off by the Assyrians. Israel is greatly humbled. Ephraim, right, the northern kingdom, they're humbled completely. The prophecy talks about famine, all right, how their crops will be dwindled down to nothing. But I want to skip down to verse 10 and read. This way it's about Ephraim making a political alliance with the Syrians, right? And that's where their trust was. And it says, because you have forgotten the God of your salvation and have not been mindful of the rock of your strength, therefore you plant pleasant plants and set them with vine slips of a strange God. In the day that you plant it, you carefully fence it in, and in the morning you make your seed to flourish, but the harvest shall reap of ruins in that day of grief and desperate pain. Verse 13, it says, the nations rumble like the rumbling of many waters, but Elohim shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off. This is including Ephraim, or the 10 northern tribes. They were humbled. Why? Because they didn't place their trust in their own God. They placed their trust in political alliances, and they started worshiping other gods as well. And then the end of chapter 17, it's like the prophet Isaiah is speaking back to the southern kingdom of Judah. And this is what he's saying concerning these prophecies against other nations. It says, this is the portion of those who plunder us and the lot of those who rob us. He's saying, our God, he is just. He is not partial. He does not show partiality, not even to his own people. He is going to judge righteously. Chapter 18 is an oracle, concerning Ethiopians, which are the Cushites. And the Cushites at this time in history were overtaking the territory of Egypt. And one thing to note, that if you overtake Egypt, Egypt is automatically going to call you their pharaoh. If you have ever, read about Cleopatra, nobody really knows whether she was, native born Egypt or not, but her father was, Ptolemy, and he overtook Egypt. Therefore, he was called Pharaoh. All right. So I want you to see that in this chapter, when we open it up and we read it, it says that the Ethiopians are sending ambassadors down to Judah to make political alliances, right, against the world power at the time, which was the Assyrians. So let's read verses 1 and 2 concerning this oracle of Ethiopia. It says, woe to the land vibrating with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which sends ambassadors by way of the sea, even in vessels of reeds on the water. So we see that they are trying to make this political alliance with the southern kingdom of Judah. And I will take you back to 2 Kings chapter 18 just to show and prove that this is what was happening during the time of this prophecy. Chapter 18, verse 19. This is when Hezekiah was on the throne, and Hezekiah was speaking with Isaiah during this time concerning what to do about Sennacherib, who was the king of Assyria. He sent his voice piece, I guess you could say his Rabshakeh, to speak this to King Hezekiah, right? So this is what it says. Thus says the great king of Assyria, what is the basis of your confidence? You speak empty words concerning counsel and strength for war. Now on whom do you trust that you have rebelled against me? Now look, you trust in the staff of the bruised reed on Egypt, on which if a man leans, it will enter his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. But the oracle explains that our Yahuwah Elohim does not need help through political alliance to humble the nations. He can do it all by himself. He doesn't need help. So we know at that time, King Hezekiah, so he was secretly making a political alliance with Egypt. And later on, he was trying to make a political alliance with Babylon, which did not work out well for him at all. But we know that during that time, Assyria, they had already conquered the 10 northern tribes. They had conquered many surrounding areas as well, many other nations. And then they were coming down to the southern kingdom of Judah to taunt them. And we know if you just go back and read through 2 Kings that Yahuwah Elohim destroyed the Assyrians, that the king of Assyria went back to his own land, but his 2 sons killed him. And then at the very end of chapter 18, it kind of focuses back to Ethiopia and Egypt. So let's read it. It says right here in verse 7, in that time a present shall be brought to the Lord of hosts, from a people tall and smooth, from a people feared far and wide, a nation strong and oppressive, whose land and rivers have divided. So this is talking about Egypt as a whole. And so this is kind of like a future prophecy. I want to take you to Zechariah, the very last chapter of Zechariah, and what it says about the people of Egypt in the millennial reign of our Messiah. Let's read it. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16, and read all the way through 19. So maybe you'll see something that you haven't seen before. It says, then it will be that all of the nations who have come against Jerusalem and survived will go up each year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. And it will be that if any of the families of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem and worship the King, the Lord of hosts, then there will be no rain for them. If the family of Egypt does not go up and enter in, they shall have no rain. This will be the plague with which Yahuwah strikes the nations that do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all of the nations who do not go up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. So these oracles and these prophecies are given to the southern kingdom of Judah right now. These are the ones who are left in their land. The 10 northern tribes, they're gone, they're scattered. Soon, Judah will be exiled to Babylon, but they will come back. And this is essentially telling the people of Judah, he humbles everyone. He shows no partiality, but at the end of days, the highest mountain will be Zion, right? All of the nations will come to Jerusalem, where the southern kingdom of Judah currently dwells, right? He's saying there will come a day, well, this will be the most glorious place again, and it will happen during the millennial reign of our Messiah. I hope this is helping a little bit, because sometimes prophecies are very difficult to understand, and if you don't understand it now, it may take a year, 2 years from now. We may not understand all of these prophecies, while we're on this side. Some of these things will be left for Messiah to clarify to us when he teaches us on top of Mount Zion, but hopefully this has helped you out a little bit. Deep in Word family, that's all that I have for you today. Until tomorrow, Yah bless.